Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Mr. Ian Teaches English. Today we are talking about, I think, the final modal in our series. We're talking about would. Now, this word is difficult, and when I explain it to my students, this is the modal that gets the most looks. So take your time with this. Ask me questions if you need to. And afterwards, don't forget to start looking for it in books, in movies, in music. Look everywhere. But let's go ahead and jump in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the verb would. And in my opinion, this might be the most difficult modal that we're going to talk about because it has the most definitions as well as the most difficult to understand definitions. So here we go. Now this is the same slide that I have at the beginning of all of my modal videos. If you have not seen the introduction, please go ahead, stop this video now, go back and look at the introduction video, which should be in the top corner somewhere, a link to it, and then start with an easier modal. Don't let this be your first modal. It is one of the most difficult in my opinion. If you refuse to do that and you just want to know, hey, what is a modal? Tell me really quickly. This is the slide that will give you the most information about how I represent modals in my class. All right, the first two definitions work together. That's why they're here on the same slide. The first thing, and probably the most common thing that we use would for are hypotheticals. These are things that are not real. They might be real situations for someone else, but they are not real for you. If your friend is having trouble, they might ask you, what would you do? It's not your problem. It's your friend's problem. So when you talk about it, you will speak in hypothetical. You'll say things like, I'd end world hunger, but can't do anything about it. You don't have the power. It's not a real situation. Remember this. This word tells English speakers that it's not really happening. It's not a real situation for you. You're imagining, you're pretending, you're playing a game in your head, but it's not real. So you'll use this one a lot. And this connects with future certainty. Now, we do use this to talk about things that are certain in the past, but they come connected to a conditional. So if you go outside, you'd get wet. So it's kind of like a hypothetical because the situation isn't real yet, because the situation has not been met, or the condition has not been met yet. But if the condition is met, then the future would be certain. The second one, I'd call my mom if I were you. But again, you're not that person, so it's hypothetical, but also the second conditional here if you've learned about those. Number 3 talks about habits or routines that you did in the past. These are things that were true in the past. They were habits, routines, things that you did all the time, but you don't do them anymore. For example, my mom would read me a book every night, but she doesn't do it now. You're an adult. You don't need her to read to you anymore. His family would take a walk after dinner. This is something that was a habit or routine in the past. Then years ago, stores would close on Thanksgiving. Again, in the past, something that happened, something that routinely happened, not single events, but habits, routines in the past. Number 4 is probably the most difficult to understand, and this is the past of will. It's only used as a reference to a past time where somebody used the verb will. So for example, my brother said he'd be here on time. Now in the past, your brother said, I will be here on time. But that was in the past, so we don't use the word will anymore. We change it to would. You said I wouldn't have to pay for my own ticket. Now, in the past, what the person actually said was you won't have to pay for your own ticket. They used the future tense, but that was in the past, so we are referencing it. If you haven't noticed, this is reported speech, and it is very common to see this word used in reported speech. All right, our last definition here is used when we are asking polite questions. Remember, English is not a very formal language. We don't have a lot of levels of communication like some languages do, where you talk with a lot of respect to some people and maybe less respect to others. We're pretty informal most of the time, unless you don't know someone, if somebody is a stranger to you. So you'll hear the most polite conversation at stores when people talk to customers, or when you're in a restaurant, or if you start talking to somebody on the bus. Those are the times that we use formal language and more of these polite questions. So some examples here. Would you pass the salt, please? Would she deliver this for me? And would you mind taking off your shoes? Just a couple examples of using would to create a polite question. Now, let's do some practice. So here you'll see some sentences, and I want you to pause the video, take a moment, and see if you can guess, or not guess, see if you know which definitions they match. Remember, there are 5. If you need to go back and look at the other slides, you can, but see if you can figure out which ones are correct. All right, here we go. Let's look at number 1. Would you deliver this letter for me? That is a polite question. Number 2, my dad would come to my sports games. That's a past habit. Something that happened in the past but doesn't happen now. But it did, it was regular, it was routine. Number 3, his sister said that she'd make dinner. This is the past of will, used as a reference only. Number 4, I wouldn't buy it, but it's your choice. It's hypothetical. Are you buying it? No, someone else is buying it, but you're giving your hypothetical opinion on it. It's not a real situation for you. You'd get that job if you applied. This is future certainty. Now be careful. Hypothetical and future certainty kind of go back and forth. They're kind of the same. But here, if the condition is met, then the future is certain. But the condition's not met, so it sounds a little bit hypothetical. Right? You have to apply first, but if you apply, it's certain you get the job. I'd be able to finish the movie if we started it now. This is number 2. Again, future certainty. Number 7, my teacher said she'd check it on Monday. That's number 4, the past of will. In the past, the teacher said, I'll check it on Monday. So here we're just referring to it. And again, reported speech. I don't have a video about that yet, but I will in the future. My family'd always eat lunch together. This is number 3, a past habit. This means that you don't do it now, but you did it in the past. Number 9, I'd go, but I have no money. This is a hypothetical. It's not a real situation for you because you don't have any money, so you can't go. But you can imagine, you can pretend, but it's not a real situation for you. And the last one, number 10, would she mind moving? This is a polite question. Now, if you got some of these wrong and you don't know why, please let me know in the comments. And even you can try a sentence in the comment and I'll tell you which definition it fits. So you can try to make a hypothetical and I'll tell you if it does sound hypothetical. This is practice and I'm a teacher. So practice in the comments. I'll let you know how you're doing. Now, why is this important? And I say this at the end of every one of these modal slides. These modals are extremely important. Sometimes I tell my students that this is possibly some of the most important stuff you'll learn in English. So be careful with it. Using would or could or should completely changes the meaning of the sentence. And I hope this has been helpful in helping you understand why we use the word would. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I hope that was useful. As always, if you have a question, please put it in the comments. I'm very happy to answer them. This finishes our modal series, so if you haven't seen the other ones in the past, go back and check them out. We're now going to start talking about different topics. And by the way, if you are interested, please let me know what sort of topics that you want to learn about. If you want to talk about certain verbs or certain expressions or really anything, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to consider those videos. For now, though, make sure that you're checking out these words when you're reading books and watching movies. Pause the movie or pause reading your book and see if you can understand why they use the word would. Which definition is it? Because, like I always say, these modals are really, really important. So Until next time, we'll see you.